Okie dokie, it's time to give away a free wedding cake! Roll the tape.
Hey Katie, I want to give away free cake.
Free cake?
Oh, like weddings. Let's do wedding cakes. Weddings. And we get to sort of pick the design based off who you are as like a couple. Oh, yes, I love it. You do not know what your cake's going to look like until your day. That's so cool. Surprise.
So we held a competition, we had loads of entries, and we are finally ready to share couple number 1 that happened back in February, but let's watch it.
First couple.
The first couple is fast approaching. We ended up picking 4. Couple number 1 is Jaide and Reece. They've been together 13 years.
Yep, and they've already had their wedding cancelled due to COVID.
How many people?
100 guests.
100 guests.
In Sorrento.
In Sorrento.
It's going to be hot.
Oh, wow. That's about an hour's drive away from us.
Yep.
So,
what are you thinking design-wise?
we just had a meeting with the couple. They told us what their wedding, the whole vibe of their wedding, which is pretty much just black and white with a touch of gold. And class.
Classy.
What the class
it's
factor.
in a ballroom.
The good thing about this is that I can do what I want because this is the whole point.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking square. I have never done a square 2-tiered cake.
Oh, well, if you're going to try something you've never done, let's
Now's
let's
the
do it
time
for a wedding. You've got to incorporate the fleur-de-lis for her sister. That's
Yes.
a little special touch. We're
So
gonna
I'm thinking fleur-de-lis will go maybe like on the front of the top tier in gold.
Okay.
There'll be some gold elements, textured fondant, some sort of fault liney vibe.
Okay.
Not sure exactly how I'm going to do that, but
I'm feeling it.
it's going to have to be fondant because of the weather. Buttercream will not survive an hour's drive. Tall, I'm going tall. Taller bottom tier, shorter top tier. And the flowers are actually preserved florals and foliage, all in white and black pretty much. So that's going to be maybe an arrangement on the step in the middle.
Okay. Let's get to it.
Woo!
Woohoo!
Oh.
Alrighty, now we've got our design all done, it's time to make the cake. 2 days before the wedding, I get my cake board ready. I'm using 2 boards stuck together for a little bit more stability. Fully assembled, this cake is going to be really heavy, so I just wanted to have that extra strength in the board. And now it's time to start stacking. For this bottom tier, I'm going to do 6 layers of cake, and in those layers, I'm using white chocolate ganache and raspberry jam. For the top tier, I'm using a 12-inch cake cut into quarters to make it a 6-inch square. And because I want this top tier to be a little bit shorter than the bottom tier, I'm just doing 4 layers instead of 6. Now, because I'm going to be using fondant on these cakes, I've got to do a ganache coating first. I do 2 coats of ganache, a crumb coat and a top coat. And then once I'm happy with how smooth and sharp it's looking, I'll set that aside to work on the top tier. I like to allow enough time to be able to do the ganache on one day and the fondant on the next day. So I popped these in the fridge and then I came in the next day to work on the fondant. With this cake design, I wanted a textured fondant, so I didn't need my fondant very much. I sort of left it really hard before rolling it out, and it created some really cool sort of cracks and textures in the fondant, as you can see. Being such a tall cake, I also added each square on separately, and that just helped create a really sharp look on my square cake. I then did the same thing on my top tier, and now it's time to stack them. I made sure to insert some supportive dowels in that bottom tier just to hold up that top tier and make sure it doesn't get squashed. Now that the cake is all stacked, I'm going to add the fleur-de-lis, which is a tribute to the bride's sister. I just used gold leaf and a stencil for that, and I stuck it on using water. I thought it was a really special touch. To achieve that fault line effect, I just used more textured fondant and I sort of tore and ripped at the fondant until I got to the look I was after. I then stopped for the day and I came in the next day, which is the day of the wedding, to finish off all of the detailing. I used some edible gold paint and I painted some detailing around those fault lines and all on those cracks, and then it was time to add the florals. For this arrangement, I used a combination of artificial silk flowers as well as preserved florals and foliage. And that was it. It was all done. And can I just say, this cake weighed an absolute ton.
Okay, it's all boxed up. So now we're going to try and get it in the fridge. I can't get over how heavy this cake is. Okay, moment of truth. It's time to put the cake in the car. This thing weighs a ton. I'm a little bit nervous. A little bit shaky. I've been doing this for many years and I still get nervous doing wedding cake deliveries. Also, it's 30 degrees here in Melbourne. Sunny, very hot, not ideal for cake delivering. We got this. It's in! All right, we're on our way. We've got an hour and 5 minutes drive. Snuck us in a bug in a rug.
So we arrived safely at the venue, and luckily we got this trolley from the amazing staff at the venue and were able to wheel the cake up in the elevator to the ballroom. Even though it may not look it, this cake was very heavy, as I've said, and without that trolley, I don't know how we would have got it up here. So all that was left now was to pop it on its table and admire it, take some pictures and celebrate, really. Nothing will beat the sheer relief and happiness that comes with delivering a wedding cake and seeing it on display. And here's the happy couple, Jaide and Reece. A big congratulations to them and a huge thank you for trusting us with their wedding cake.